free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244-644048. I repeat, or call 0244-644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Ghana Connect. It's time again for citizens to hit the streets in protest of illegal mining that is devastating our environment, our forest. Everything is being destroyed, poisoned, are being introduced into our food, our drinking water. In fact, last week and last 2 weeks, you get told that the Ghana Water Company Limited says because it is costing them an arm and a leg and a fortune to treat the water that comes to your home, they need you to pay more than 200% more than you pay currently for the water because they just can't deal with Galamsey. And we ask, how is that the responsibility of the ordinary citizen to do so? And so tonight we'll bring an intersection of activists, protesters, and the government to converge on where we go from here, because Fix the Country movement as well as Democracy Hub over this weekend, particularly Sunday, and then I think a part of Monday, are hitting the street to demonstrate and to urge the government to do more than they are doing currently to fight Galamsey. There are so many in civil society and elsewhere who've said that the government has simply been dilly-dallying since it assumed office in January of 2025. And that the NDC, despite screaming on their lungs when they were in opposition about how the erstwhile government was not doing enough to fight Galamsey, has failed to do so. And so they are hitting the streets to demand more from government. And so we have government, CSOs, as well as the persons who are hitting the streets to have a big conversation on this illegal mining menace that simply will not go away right after these messages.
Momo. It has made life happen in lots of good ways.
Mr. Kwanzaa, Mr. Insurance claim no. It
has put together beautiful weddings. It has filled the bellies of boys at their favorite watchy joint.
My guy, stop. Who they chop cancel these days?
It has made millions of businesses possible.
Mr. Kalono, we are back in business.
With just a few taps, money moves faster, easier, and safer. Momo understands the weight of your trust in us. We continuously enhance security with features like self-paying reset to help you protect your money. Momo will only call you with 0244 300,000. No MTN or Momo staff will call or ask for your PIN or one-time password. Do not transfer funds to anyone whose identity you have not verified. Do not approve any prompts you have not initiated. Momo, still Wunsaka.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-564. Ward 101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
At Star Oil, we believe fuel is not just a commodity, it is a lifeline. Every cedi saved at the pump is a cedi that helps a mother send her child to school. A farmer transports food to the market, or a young entrepreneur deliver their first order. Our mission is to make fuel more accessible by offering consistently competitive prices, helping ease the financial burden on Ghanaian households. In a country where transportation costs can consume nearly a third of household income, this is not just business. It's a social responsibility. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
Are you clapping? Are you giving God the glory? Hallelujah! Every day you wake up shouting, my business is not moving. Customers are not coming. But look, my brother, my sister, who are you deceiving? Have you smiled today? Do you have the confidence to smile? Your face alone is chasing people away. Yeah! We all know that the problem is not a spiritual problem. The problem is a dental problem. She was saying, use Pepsodent charcoal toothpaste to remove yellow. Somebody shout amen.
Craft your smile with Pepsodent charcoal. It removes stains and whitens teeth. This advert is FDA approved.
Lucky's everywhere for everyone.
This year is going to be sweet. I don't just feel it, I know it, because the Luckiest Season 3 is back.
And I'm about to show you how to grab your golden ticket. Just dial *712# and follow the prompts to purchase your ticket. Or go to theluckiestafrica.com, hit community ticket, and pick your lucky number.
Or let the system do its magic. Choose how much you want to spend from 1 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. You can even buy a ticket for someone else. Be someone's hero. Payment? Easy. Mobile money in Ghana or card if you're international.
One ticket can turn one CD into 500 times more. That's maths we love. Or your community will win 10 times more. So let's get lucky together because luck is everywhere.
Hey, Hamsa. And you stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. Just send it say be here met na oche. New units na oche. No be baby someone some demoni ni na say. Hamsa. For quiet, yes, Simbiara Association Ontario uses Stay Soft and Nianets Nawache, Nani Boss to Tafom Cra, a fabric softener, a year near Cesar. Choose to Stay Soft, no who's so yano, FDID a dreading cratu yatu.
Saswabo, Sasu, Simple Prepo. Sasso, mi se come tonton preco. Edra na tua minha museshe. Yeah, how can see I my baby? Minha me come me sasso spray. Every mosquito standing run away. Come on tonton preco. Sasso, mi se come tonton preco. Come on tonton preco. Sasso, kum tonton preko. Nani shamne die edemo stronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect, and really excited to be joined by some persons who have been speaking a lot about this Galamsey menace and what we have to do to get to the point where we can truly deal with this. Daryl Bosu is Deputy Director of Arocha Ghana, is connecting with us on phone. Daryl, it's good to have you connect with us.
Good evening to you, my brother. I'm really happy to be here.
Great. And then Oliver Bakafoma is convener of Fix the Country. He is leading this protest together with a couple of conveners and is connecting with us on Zoom. Oliver, it's good to have you connect with us.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Pakwesi Shandorf is the Media Relations Officer of the Lands Ministry, and they are currently overseeing the Environment Ministry as well. Shandorf, it's good to have you connect with us.
Yeah, Kwaku, it's always a pleasure. Good evening.
And then Awula Sewa is coordinator of Eco Conscious Ghana. Awula, it's good to have you connect with us again.
Thank you for having me.
So, Oliver, let me start with you. 9 months in, is it that you feel like the government has dropped the ball and is not doing the things they promised to do with regards to Galamsey, so that you are hitting the streets in the same manner as you did in last 2 years, and a couple of years prior to that?
Let's be clear. I mean, I think the conversation shouldn't be narrowed as to whether or not the government is abiding by its promises. Of course, there's so many things on which the government hasn't delivered on, but the conversation is bigger, and I think the threat is bigger than what the government is doing or not doing. For me, I think the important thing is that we citizens continue to hold a red line as to what we will tolerate and what we will not tolerate. And I don't want to live in a republic where it is routine for citizens to be poisoned without regard. So this is what the conversation is about, that what we as a society are mobilizing to start or to hold, duty bearers accountable for what we are demanding, what kind of relationship we want to have with the environment. That's the broader conversation. And I don't think this is an electoral issue. I think it's a leadership issue. And it's a leadership that requires that we as citizens also show up as part of the conversation. Now, of course, there are signs that, has made a lot of us very perplexed about, the government's intentions with regards to the Galamsey problem. Of course, so many of us want to see the government do more. But I am also very careful that in the spirit of trying to broaden the conversation, that I want every Ghanaian to show up, whether you support the government or whether you're against the government. I do not care. What is important to me is that I have access to clean environment, and that's what is. I don't care what your party card says, who you're voting for. The bottom line is, do you want this problem solved? And that's why we are showing up and inviting everybody to join the protest.
In time past, some of the issues that have come up has to do with the police and the constitution, the Public Order Act of informing them. I want what has happened there. Have you informed the police? Because so far we have not had a statement from the police talking about arrangement for the specifics of the protest. 2 days, Sunday and Monday, a picket on Sunday, and then a march from Shiashi to the Jubilee House, the Revolution Square area, on Monday as well. What has been the conversation with the Ghana Police Service in this regard?
We have notified the police, as we have done almost consistently. Consistently for every protest we have done. We've had meetings with the police. I think we have had arrangements for supervising the protest. I would say this, at least that has been perhaps one of the smoothest engagements we've had with the police in as many times as we've organized these things. So at least on that front, we can see there's a change. There's a change in the attitude of the police in willingness to engage now. With regard to whether or not they issue a statement, that's not a requirement of the law. I imagine that they intend to do that tomorrow. But the most important thing is that we're going ahead with the police providing the necessary security arrangements to make sure that every protester who comes out is safe and is able to return home safely.
For the sake of emphasis, what exactly is the arrangement? You have a 2-day program. What is the outline of this program? And what ultimately is the demand that is flowing from this 2-day activity? But first, give us the broad outline of this 2-day protest.
So on Sunday, which is 21st September, it has become almost like a pilgrimage for us of sorts in Nkrumah's birthday, for us to show up and demand better action from duty bearers. We are converging at the Revolutionary Square, which is opposite the Jubilee House. Now, it's a vigil, so we're expecting to light candles. We're expecting to have conversations about Galamsey and the risk and the need for us to do more as a people around this issue. So we're expecting everybody to show up from 2 p.m. By 3 p.m. everything is in full gear. Till as late. Our arrangement with the police is that it's an overnight protest, so we can be there till 5 a.m. Surely some of us intend to stay there till the next morning and continue with the protest from Shiashi again to Jubilee House. That's the intention for how we intend to set up over the next 2 days. In past times we have done 3 days. This time around we're doing it on 2 days, which is the Sunday. The Monday as well is a public holiday, so it shouldn't disrupt anybody's work plans to be able to show up and show solidarity to the conversation we want to have.
Brilliant. Let me bring in Awula Sewa and take your thoughts on Awula Sewa. Are you joining the protest as well? Are you endorsing this? And what are your views on how some of these issues regarding Galamsey has been handled so far that has led, obviously, to a protest? Because obviously some would say that if the people felt that the government were pushing or fighting the menace in a certain way, then there will not be the need to hit the streets.
Well, definitely the perception is that it's not being treated with the urgency with which Ghanaians would like to see it treated. The thoughts were known before the elections. We had a number of NDC stalwarts asking for a state of emergency. And indeed, Honorable Ablakwa says he still stands by everything he said. But it didn't seem like the urgency was what we were seeing. And the situation did not seem to be improving. I do know that there have been some raids which have been positive. So we're not saying that nothing has been done. That will not be right. But it's the urgency of the problem. It doesn't seem like it's being treated as something that is an existential threat. It's not as if it was a surprise. We knew that we had this existential threat. So one would have thought that would hit the ground running. What was important to the government was done, the e-levy, the betting tax. But for people like us, we think that what should have been the most important thing was the existential threat. We knew the house was burning. So putting out the fire should have been the most important thing. And as my brother Oliver has said, what we all want is a clean and safe environment. So yes, I will be joining the protest. And as he said, it's not against the government as such, but it's just to encourage the government to treat our poisoning as a matter of extreme urgency and to ensure that robust steps are put in place.
Definitely. Daryl?
Yes.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Let's hear from you on the conversation. The protest. Yes, okay, yeah. Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think that this is very important because I think we need to prioritize the issue of Galamsey because, as you know, it is one detrimental activity that is putting every other sector of our economy at risk. If you look at our food security issues, water issues, the forest issues, and also even security issues, and then you can also talk about health. All of these sectors of our economy are struggling because of the external impact of Galamsey. So for me, I agree with what has been said so far that we have not so far demonstrated that we prioritize Galamsey issues. And therefore, if there's a need to remind government that this is still very important, and we need to put it on the top of the agenda, so be it. And we are ready anytime, any day to support any group that is genuinely committed to the cause of making sure that we maintain a safe and clean environment for every Ghanaian, which is also a constitutional right. And so this is very important that we all rally behind these kind of campaigns and support and also use that to remind the government on what is more important to our citizens.
So, Shanov, ultimately, this comes down to you and your ministry and what you are doing. It's been 9 months. Perhaps, this, like I put it in my question to Awula Sewa, if you had done this in a way that gave confidence to the ordinary people that something is happening, there will not be the need to come out in protest to say that you must do something in a certain way. There's so many things that were said by the NDC who are in opposition. They haven't quite done that, Shanov.
Back here.
Shanov, can you position yourself well because you're
all right. Good evening once again.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Am I loud and clear now?
Yes.
Right. Kwaku, so once again, good evening to you and the rest of our colleagues who are connecting. I've heard Oliver, I've heard Awula Sewa. Indeed, I've had the opportunity to listen to Daryl as well. And all of them, just like myself, I think we all have the same concern. Our ultimate objective is to see Galamsey become a thing of the past. And I believe that is what underscores this upcoming protest. But my only point of departure is that ordinarily, a protest should be warranted when the government of the day is, first of all, maybe passive on a trending issue, or the government is not acting right, or the government is totally nonchalant. But all of those do not fit into the description of the efforts that the current government has implemented. And that is the only reason I do not understand with all due respect, the essence of the protest. You stage a protest to register, first of all, your dissatisfaction about a certain status quo that you think is not good in the interests of the people, or when you believe that the government is not acting appropriately. But as of now, as we have it, just yesterday, the sector minister paid a visit to the Ankobra River, and that is part of many visits that have already been, had in the past. Again, part of so many other measures. NIMOS, as we speak, that is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, is working tirelessly around the clock to deal decisively with the menace of illegal mining. And so it comes to the question, the obvious question that then arises is that, why are we protesting as citizens? Let me put on record again that, yes, just like all three of them, I also believe that, of course, we should deal decisively with the menace of illegal mining. Kwaku, you would remember that prior to the election, of course, I was part of conversations on this same platform where we were all calling for illegal mining to be dealt with decisively. Currently, government is doing the same thing with the same energy, same enthusiasm and momentum. So it begs the question, why are we protesting? If the government was sleeping on the job, then perhaps the protest would have been justified.
9 months into office. Apart from NIMOS was going around. In fact, prior to that, there was IGP's task force. The people say they can't. In fact, they are seeing Galamsey worsen. They are seeing the rivers being polluted to a point where they can't see. So, apart from, you've talked about specific things you are doing, how is it fixing the problem? How has it impacted on illegal mining?
Hold on. Let me come in here. So, the expectations are valid. Once again, I do not want to be exclusive or condescending in any way. The expectations are valid. But the other reality, which perhaps we are not paying a lot of attention to, is the fact that the devastation that had deepened, not started. Of course, Galamsey has been with us for a very long time. But over the last 8 years, the menace had deepened. So a devastation that had deepened over the last 8 years, with the greatest of respect, can naturally not be undone within 9 months. And that is why it again begs the question, why are we protesting?
But you can see something.
Things that we have done. Kwaku, please hold on. The efforts that government has rolled out so far, it is not limited to NIMOS. Prior to now, and indeed this is why we were actually calling for the state of emergency. In 1 minute, I think I should be able to make this point. In 2017, when Akufo-Addo took office, there was no call for the declaration of a state of emergency. In 2018, there was nothing like that. 2019, all the way to 2020. In fact, when his mandate was renewed in 2020, still there was no call for the declaration of a state of emergency. 2021, no call. 22, no call. 23, no call. It was in the dying members of 2024, the latter part, that the call became rife. That was because, in our estimation and in our analysis, government had failed. And so it was at that latter portion that we were calling for the declaration of a state of emergency. Why am I bringing this context into the issue? It is to state that a state of emergency is not your first port of call when you want to deal with the menace of illegal mining. Thankfully, a new government comes into place. Back then when we were calling again for the declaration of a state of emergency, out of the 288 forest reserves that we have, 44 have been besieged and impacted by illegal mining. But 9 were red zone areas, in the sense that they were occupied by armed thugs and fortified, weaponized illegal miners. In a matter of 6 months, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, under the sector minister, Emmanuel Amakufibwa, has been able to repossess all 9 of them. Indeed, LI 2462, which of course was the brainchild of the former administration, which gave unfettered access to forest reserves, as we speak, is at the verge of being repealed. And so when anybody says government is not acting or government is not being forthright, it is a bit, with the greatest of respect, unfair to warrant a protest in the very first place. You protest non-performance, you protest failure, you protest incompetence. Where is the incompetence we are protesting come Saturday and then Sunday and
Sunday
then
is
the
Monday.
following?
Oliver, he says you when you are protesting something, there must be a certain reason. He quite feels like the government is delivering on certain specifics, and so he doesn't see the reason for the protest. Whilst you respond to that, I want to know what exactly the demands of the protests are, because usually, in fact, for every single protest you have led, there are clear-cut deliverables that you expect of the institution you are demonstrating against, be it government or not. And so, why are you demonstrating? Why, first, the government says they believe they're doing something better, but what exactly are the tangibles that you'll be expecting?
Thanks for that. This is not the first time I've heard even more articulate persons than Kwaku as to what the government has done and why the problem is a non-problem, and that why we are stepping out to protest is a non-issue, and that we are seeking attention. This is routine, in fact, routine government speak. The question as to whether people's verdict as to whether the government needs to be doing more is the people who are going to be showing up. So he may not understand the reason why people need to come out. He may not understand what the people of Ghana feel. He's probably going to get that response when people show up on Sunday and Monday as to whether, in the estimation of those people, the persons who hold the verdict without pay, think about what we need to be doing as a society in respect of this. But let me be clear, and this is a bit disingenuous as well, to suggest that the reason why certain persons have come out to call for a state of emergency on the issue is because it is perceived that the government was not doing enough. Now, if the government is not doing A, it is definitely not going to do Z. The calls were in light of the problem, not on the government's inaction alone. It's about the scale of what we are encountering. Now, so many persons within, the current administration while in opposition, and what we were calling the dying embers of the former administration, came out in support of that call. And I'm hoping that they were not doing so flippantly or for whatever reasons, but they were doing so in the understanding and assessment of where the problem had gotten to, based on what the experts were telling us. The environment does not care about the ballot box. It doesn't care about who was in the office and who wasn't now. It's a question of whether or not, where have we reached in terms of the scale of the problem, and whether or not the actions being taken measure up to standard. Now, the government came in, of course, its first priority was to set up Gold Board. It was not, LI 2462 that he's talking about now. In fact, the government's position was clear. The first initiative that they took to Parliament was to amend it. It is because of that crescendo of voices and critique of the government pussyfooting around this issue that they have gone back to the drawing board. So this is a government that should have come in better understanding the scale of the problem what we're dealing with. This is not a time for experimentation.
Am I allowed to
that is, I prefer not that you don't intervene, just like how we listen. So this is not a time for experimentation, which is what many of us feel has happened. Now, Kwaku is entitled to disagree with that, of course. But the real truth is that how many Ghanaians feel as we feel, and whatever Ghanaians feel about the issue is what the verdict is going to be about. Now, our position on this is clear, that we do not think that the government is doing enough in terms of the restrictions of imports on excavators that are coming into the ports. We do not think that enough is being done in terms of the banning of mercury and some of the hard chemicals that are being used in the practice. We don't think that the government is sincere in its attempt to clean up the space between what is legal and what is illegal. As the government said, it's our environment that is being destroyed, so we might as well get the benefit of it. The priority is getting the good out, however it comes from. That's what we are seeing the priority is. Irrespective of what they are saying, what the images are showing. In these few days that the protest has been announced, now we're being bombarded with images when, for how many months now, it's been laissez-faire attitude on this. So this is what we're talking about. We're also asking that several of the people who have been involved in decision making, one of the things that we're asking for was for EC to be sacked. Now he's a chairman of the minister in place, and now I understand he's being moved as a technical advisor to the ministry. Persons need to be held accountable. We did not get into this environmental mess because we're doing proper things. None of that has happened. It just seems we are rolling on as if, okay, everything is fine and all we need is a few more soldiers dressing for the camera, and that's what we need to do. We need to see people being held accountable, and that's what the demands of this protest are. We join our colleagues from the coalition against Galamsey, who have earlier this week did a press conference where they outlined what their demands are in terms of what the government needs to be doing.
Does it include a declaration of state of emergency?
Sorry, say that again.
Does it that your demand includes a state of emergency targeted in other places? Because there are those who have said that people have made
our position. Democracy House position has been clear that we need to articulate broadly and clearly what a state of emergency would entail. Now we join the broader call and sentiment around this is not a normal crisis, and we need to fine tune our response to it. Now, to go in and declare a state of emergency means that we must articulate clearly what our expectations and what we are asking the government to do within that conversation. The government must put the state of emergency on the table for that conversation to happen. To take it completely off the table, it's non-tenable. Now we need to be clear. The aspects of it, of course, of what the broader conversation of what the state of emergency is, such as arbitrary arrest of people without access to the courts and things like that we're not very comfortable with. It doesn't mean that we don't want a conversation to be had about it and the parameters clearly drawn up, and we need to see sustained action on the issue. So this is what we are talking about more generally.
Shandoff, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make in the course of his submission was the fact that, like I earlier indicated, if you want to stage a protest, it is to register dissatisfaction over maybe incompetence, a blatant act of failure, or a government that is completely nonchalant. It is not to, as it were, deepen awareness over a particular environmental threat already, because the truth of the matter is that
who in Ghana, they don't feel like
who in Ghana,
there's kind of seriousness. No, so that you don't.
It's a reframing of the issue. It's a reframing of the issue. Nobody has given a 3-point agenda for what the protest must entail, and this is your narrow definition of what you think. If you think the government has been incompetent, you're entitled to that view. Of course, there are Ghanaians who think that, and they're entitled to come out as well.
Oliver, if in your assessment you think that the government has been responsive so far, then what really becomes the essence of the protest? So that is the point I'm coming to.
I haven't said that. You have said that you think that the government has done so well and doesn't need a
agree.
The majority of Ghanaians feel that the government does not understand the urgency of the crisis, and that the measures it's taking is not commensurate to the urgency of the crisis. Now, any of that incompetence, those will be your words, not mine.
Okay, I think you still agree that the government has been responsive, except that you think the extent of responsiveness is not maybe enough, and that is why I'm saying then.
Well, I think the government has been as responsive as the Nanado administration. Yes.
No, Oliver. Of course, you can. It will be extremely. I mean, it was the past administration that brought LI 2462 in the very first place,
which you promised to repeal, which you haven't. Which you've been dilly-dallying around, dancing around, going to parliament saying you're amending, and then you go, you do this, you do that. The LI 2462 is still on the books.
Kwaku, did you not see? I mean, Kwaku, let's not do this. You know very well that a letter has been written to the Attorney General in that particular respect.
Nobody wants letters.
No objection.
It's 9 months in government. If the government specifically made a promise that they will repeal LI 2462. 9 months on, if you are still writing letters, that is not the kind of urgency with which the Ghanaians expect you to be dealing with matters. Writing letters to the Attorney General, who cares about that?
You report from Parliament.
I was there when the late Honorable Inusa, the late Alhaji Murtala Mohammed brought the LI for amendment. I was there. May God rest his soul. He brought it for an amendment. There were public backlash. I will ask while here, Darobosu, Kanashigbe, Bakafoma, all of them spoke. In fact, the NDC were categorical in their promises leading to the 2024 election that they will repeal LI 2462. There was no talk of amendment. And now you come and you say you are amending the part that gives the power of the president the power to grant licenses for forest reserve. And they tell you that the entire legislation is problematic. And if it was as important to you as appointing ministers were, in 2 weeks after the president was in office, you had a minister of finance, you had a defense minister. If he felt Galamsey and illegal mining was as urgent a matter to be dealt with as appointing ministers, as appointing people to hold certain public office, and Oliver Bakavama, in fact, has told you about Gold Board, which you set up pretty quickly, and that is where you work on secondment at the Land Ministry. And so, if it was as urgent as a matter for you, you deal with it. You don't wait 9 months on. You are still writing letters to the Attorney General about objection and no objection. No one cares about that. People want the LI repealed.
Hold on. You have had your day with the ministry, but I think I need to clarify this.
It's not fair to characterize the point
as we speak. It will be very disingenuous for you to speak to the amendment as though it is a substantive thing now. As we speak, we are working towards the repeal of the LI 2462. Indeed, there was no categorical timeline that was assigned to the repeal.
Can I come in?
I was there categorical timeline to the repeal. No. So now that we are doing
9 months on, if it's an urgent matter.
Okay. Can I say something here? Can I say something here? You see, the LI was a low-hanging fruit. The promise we had was that it would be repealed. If there was urgency, we shouldn't be in September. Today's the 19th of September. It has not yet been repealed. You see, it does not show that we are appreciating the urgency of this matter. In opposition, we said we'd repeal that law that allows mining in forest reserve. And as I started with saying, when it came to e-levy, we're very quick about it, very swift. We've done it. E-levy it was not causing an existential threat. It was not poisoning Ghanaians. It wasn't killing Ghanaians. When it came to the betting tax, we're able to deal with it swiftly. So when you have something that is causing an existential threat, and you don't seem to deal with it with the urgency with which you should, that is what raises questions. So yes, we are very happy that the president has said that it will be repealed. But we do remember that I believe it was in May or June, Honorable Sami Jemfi told us that when Parliament returned from its recess, it will be repealed. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. So yes, we can leave this LI 2462, believing that the president will keep its word. We know the letter has been written to the Attorney General, and the hope is that it will be repealed. But that game about amending rather than repealing wasn't very good. Ghanaians were feeling that. Do you appreciate the urgency of the matter? And then again, steps that are being taken now, there is a little bit more urgency over the past few days than has been since January. As has already been said, Gold Board was set up, things that we thought were urgent were done. What is happening is that we don't feel, or Ghanaians don't feel, that this matter is being given the kind of urgency it demands. An existential threat goes to the heart of our existence.
Daryl, there's a big conversation about the specifics of the demand, and Oliver, in terms of leading this protest, has laid out a couple of the things that have been demanded. For those of you in civil society, you've talked a lot about things you demand. Is state of emergency still on the table, and what other demands are you looking at?
Kwaku, I need to first say that, look, if we didn't have a problem, we wouldn't still be out there demanding for a state of emergency. We ended the previous year with a call for state of emergency because the crisis had deepened and we were still very concerned about what was happening and the inaction. As we speak, the crisis has not lessened and it continues, and as far as we see it on the ground, is also escalating. And we have seen challenges with water, we are seeing challenges with land for farming and all of that. So, I mean, if you look at it in perspective in terms of timelines and all of that, the crisis still remains. But so far, a lot of the actions the government is putting in place, yes, we acknowledge that some actions have been taken, but a lot of them are half-hearted and not really going all out to stamp out this menace as we are all been talking about. So I think that we really need to pay attention to the point of the crisis and the urgency that is needed, and not whether there's a competency of the government or not. The government is, yes, and that's as I would like to said, in the past few days, we are seeing quite some set-up actions to deal with it. But even the fact that NIMOS was set up a couple of months ago, and they are struggling to get resources to do the work that is needed and all of that. As far as, I remember they saying that they want to deploy to about 21 districts, 6 regions and all that. They just don't have resources. It's also almost like just this week, I think so, yes, this week, Monday, that we had also Gold Board give them 5 tracks and 5 million Ghana cedis. If you look at the work that needs to be done, you would expect that the government that is truly concerned about this menace, with the urgency that we've been all speaking about, they will have done more. So I think that the government needs to step up their actions on this, and until they do that, we have a right to keep reminding them that they are still missing the mark.
Yeah, and Shandoff, you agree with Daryl that some of the actions the government has been taking is half-hearted, because you are buying gold, a lot of them, through the Gold Board, which is bankrolling the performance of the city for some time. It is helping in the economy, but you make no distinction between Galamsey gold and gold that have been mined legally. You don't make any distinction between that. And there's NIMOS, there's an IGP task force, and there are those who say that Galamsey is a law enforcement issue. There's a law, you can't mine without a license. Even if you have a license, you can't mine in a certain way. So that is a law enforcement issue. If the IGP has this man on the ground doing their job, and then the president, in answering questions of a journalist, said that we had to recall them because they were doing this a certain way. Is that what the government, the signals they want to be sending, that you are just really calling the police and telling them you can go here, you can't do that? And that feels the point of Daryl, that the actions have been half-hearted.
I think I get the substance of the question. It's unfortunate I lost connection moments ago. I hope so much have not gone by that I cannot respond to. But let me respond to your immediate concerns. First off, let me start with the redeployment or the withdrawal of the police. Their withdrawal is not in any way a lack of commitment to the fight. It's only a simple matter of strategy. Indeed, while they were on the field, they were culminating, adding to the work that NIMOS was doing, and all of that was culminating in the collective success. Except that in terms of strategy, we agreed that they ought to be withdrawn just for the purposes of re-strategization, and that is ongoing. So it is not any issue that we should feed on or assign too much significance to it. You talk about Gold Board and how that government is enabling the menace of illegal mining because Gold Board purportedly is buying gold from illegal miners. That cannot be any truthful whatsoever.
Indeed, hold on.
I think you should allow me clarify that. Hold on. Now, Gold Board, for the avoidance of doubt, and I'm putting on record, indeed, this morning, the Chief Executive Officer, Sami Jemfi, reiterated this same point on the Super Morning Show. I'm sure it skipped you, or maybe you were far away with one of your friends outside the capital. I cannot tell. Maybe you just came back. But this is the point. The Ghana Gold Board does not buy gold directly. Look at the point. Does not buy gold directly from miners, so to speak. Therefore, the Ghana Gold Board, as of now, does not materially know that, okay, this is coming from, I'm not calling you an illegal miner, even if you have that propensity. I'm not saying that is what you are now. I'm just saying that let's assume that you are a miner. The Gold Board doesn't come and say, I'm buying from Kwaku, or I'm buying from Daryl, or I'm buying from Michael Papani Ashale, your producer. No, that is not what happens. The Gold Board buys from those who are the licensed traders. And so in that respect, there is really a very, a marginal impossibility as to the ability to determine whether this is coming from this source or that source, irrespective of that. And that challenge is not the Gold Board problem, really. It is something that has been there all over the years. But look at the good news. As we speak, the Gold Board is developing an enhanced traceability system that would, for the first time in the history of Ghana, give us an opportunity to identify the source of the gold that we buy. This is something that has never been seen before. Completely unprecedented. And so when you now say that the Gold Board is a fat enabler of the illegal mining, that is completely unfair. The very same outfit that under 5 months is now developing a mechanism to trace gold such that our gold is even fit for the international market. That same outfit can certainly not be an enabler of the illegal mining menace. Indeed, it is this same Gold Board that as of now materially did a gesture of 5 million Ghana cedis, 5 Toyota pickup Hiluxes to the NIMO Secretariat to enhance its work. And I'm sure after that gesture, we have seen what NIMOS has done over the last 3 days across the length and breadth of the country. Even you, Kwaku, if you are truly committed, and this is maybe on a very light note, you can also come to the NIMOS office and say that with all the amount of money I know personally stashed in your account, NIMOS, take this and then embark on all.
Well, enough of the mischief, like you mentioned earlier on. I want you to respond to some two specific issues. Then I'll go back to Oliver on a couple of questions. Then we'll come around the table. There are reports. Fourth Estate, for instance, have been doing reports about national security operatives seizing mines, illegal mining sites, most of them, and there are mentions of members of parliament at the heart of it. We don't seem to see any actions, no prosecutions. In fact, the AG, the president, has spoken about how you've arrested so many people, but we haven't seen any prosecutions. In terms of also the high profile prosecutions, because the boys and girls who are on the mining sites, who are carrying the pans, those are not the guys bankrolling the efforts. Those guys cannot buy the excavators and all the machinery that is necessary to do that. So they are big guys bankrolling that. What exactly is it that you are doing on that score also to trace the specific big guys that are bankrolling this illegal mining protest? Because if you arrest 100 boys of an illegal mining site, you get 100 more boys who are unemployed perhaps, who feel like that gives them some more money than, let's say, regular employment, who go back to do that. So if you don't take the big heads, you don't cut the snake, the head of the snake, you are dealing with whatever the
right. I get the substance of this particular question and where it is headed. Basically, you're interested in understanding the stance of the government in dealing with those who are perceived to be corrupt in the process, or those who are
including functioning NDC members of parliament.
Now, it is not long ago, within this particular season of the discourse on illegal mining, that 2 leading members of the National Democratic Congress became subjects of interest in a high-profile Galamsey investigation. Indeed, even though, yes, both of them have categorically and separately denied their involvement, they are still subjects of scrutiny. I'm talking, number one, about the 3rd national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, and then the party's national organizer. Kwaku, I want us to be very fair. In the actual administration, Frimpong Boateng would even later come and tell us, and that is where we extracted that refrain from, that party in Yasika. And so because the party needed to fund its operations, a lot of people were being let off the hook. As we speak now, 2 leading members.
Well, it appears I've lost Shandov there. If I get Shandov back on the line, I'll take him on. Oliver, I want to take your brief reviews on some of the things that the president talked about. For instance, where he mentioned the withdrawal of the police, because that's something people have criticized. People like Erastus who've been on the grounds talking about how the Anti-Galamsey task force of the IGP, the Ghana Police Service, were doing quite some work. And as a law enforcement agency, they are doing their work, and the government says we've just recalled them. I've heard people that say, well, imagine the police were fighting armed robbery in a certain way. The government just says that we've recalled the police. It just didn't sound as right in some of the things that have come out.
Sorry, but I think you are. I didn't get the opportunity to respond to the other issue, but I'll do that and come to this.
No, I want to go to Oliver. So you do that briefly for me. Let me
hold on. Okay, fine. So hold on. Again, we are returning to the issue of the redeployment of the police, and you are presenting it as
where have they been redeployed
to? So I am saying that their redeployment is basically a matter of strategy. Indeed, after they were redeployed, are we not seeing NIMOS deliver the same result? And maybe I should tell you the constituent organs that form NIMOS, because I think for you and a lot of people, the impression is that once we have NIMOS, then we have sidelined the police. But that is far away from the truth. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat is a multi-sectoral outfit that first of all includes the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the Defense Ministry, the Interior Ministry, of course, of which the police is also a part, the BNI, the National Security, and all the other relevant agencies. So the fact that we have NIMOS, essentially, you have the police as well, except that now the police is not operating independently. And so we shouldn't present it as though we have taken out the element of police involvement in the enforcement of the law. They are actually a part of NIMOS, and I hope that clarification should kill the issue. On the matter of national security, embarking on extortive ventures and all of that, if indeed those matters come to the fore with proven evidence, the government would, the President of the Republic will crack the whip. The minister would also crack the whip accordingly. And so let us not dabble in the too much of the allegations when we do not even have the facts to ascertain them. In any point, I'm concluding in 30 seconds. Kwaku, was it not just last 3 weeks that 4 armed men, 4 members of the Ghana military were arrested? If NIMOS can arrest, members of the military, then really any other person, whether from national security, the police, or whoever is involved, certainly will be dealt with. And that should be enough indication of the political will to deal with the elephant in the room. Yes or no?
Oliver, does that give you any comfort, the kind of answers is given to some of the questions that I was putting to you?
Bagwesi is in a situation where you say you go explain tire, as we say on the streets.
You go explain. No evidence.
It's part of the process. Listen, I want Bagwesi to keep his job. I want him to remain this. I want him to be successful in his office and whatever he's doing. The concern for me is not about who sits in the hot seat. The question is whether or not we have gotten where, as a society, we feel that we have been able to handle the problem, and the problem is handled well. Now, in that process, my responsibility is that if the government wants to succeed, it gets a mandate from the streets. And the mandate can come in the persons who say that we want you to do more. So to come and say that, it is not necessary for you to come out and tell us to do more, it's not a democratic conversation you want to have. We can't infantilize the majority and the 30 million of Ghanaians who say they want to have a say in how the government is doing this. And that the government must be interested in the feedback. Now, maybe if this was last year, Pakwesi would have joined us in the street on this conversation. I don't see why he shouldn't. I don't see why he shouldn't come out and listen to other Ghanaians while we're having the kind of conversations in the spirit of engagement, right? That is important for all of us. So I hope to see him there. But more critically, I think that this is an issue which nobody wants to mobilize against the government. People want to mobilize with the government. It's a problem that we must collectively solve. And so if the posture is that a conversation around this is unnecessary, then that's a problem from the get-go. Now, irrespective of the good intentions, irrespective of how one is framed, we as a society are tired of it is in the pipeline. We are tired of, we always have it right. There's no room for government. Government never makes a mistake. When government withdraws folks from the streets, it is only re-strategized. Like there can be all kinds of fanciful ways in which we can recouch and reframe failure. The strategy has failed. and we're going back to the drawing board. Okay, if you are able to admit that honestly, then you can then engage people truthfully from a point of how then did we get it wrong when we're coming into it? Perhaps we underestimate the amplitude of the situation. Maybe we did this and these reasons why it is not going as well as we should. Then people can come to the drawing board and engage. There's so many people, whether it's Awola or what is this name? Daryl's name escapes me now. The Daryl who are joining and saying that, listen, we want to fashion out solutions. We want to figure out how we deal with the problem, and we're continuing to be your lighthouse as we navigate these treacherous waters. Then that's the spirit in which we're going to engage. But if consistently we're going to get pushback, we're going to hear that we are doing it better than anybody else, and that this is better than tea bread that you've ever tasted, then of course citizens are going to find other ways in which to draw your attention to it. Nobody said it best than Bagwin when he says, if I advise you in private and you don't listen, I might start advising you in public. Take this public advice then.
So I want you to call out people who are listening, because part of the challenge you faced the last time you heard the protest was that there were in fact people who even told you that go and do the protest in the places where the mining was going on and that there was no illegal mining in Accra. I want you to speak to people out there and ask them, or to convince them to join you, to feel like this Galamsey matter is not something that is far away from them, but something that directly impacts them every day.
It's a sad, in fact, to begin to contemplate that because we may not see it, or even that it may not affect us directly, it is not something which we must solidarize with, we must come out for and demand action on. That would be my first point of call. That we must rechange the orientation that believes that social problems are problems enough for us to step up if it's something that is directly affecting us. But in this case, this is the harm that Galamsey causes, and everybody agrees around the table here that the vast majority of this is unseen. It is not the muddied waters. It is the after effects. It's the deposits in our foodstuff. It's the deposits in our water. It's the turbidity levels. It's our inability to refine the water and able to drink and make it safe. It's the deposits in our cocoa. It is the loss of farmlands and the food security issues that come with it. These are problems that affect not only Achimota dwellers or those in Gambaga. It affects everybody across board. So my hope that it is dispersonalized enough, whether or not you don't like me as a person, whether you have problems with Democracy Hub as an organization, or whatever your hesitations are, you ought to understand that this is a national conversation that we as citizens must feel involved in. That the urgency of it, I have never seen Ghanaians mobilize around a certain issue across party lines as much as we have started to come out in respect of Galamsey and the environmental concerns. These are things where we draw the line on, and I do hope that everybody who's listening will say that, listen, irrespective of who I voted for, whose party's card I bear, I must show up because this is important not only for this generation, but for posterity. And in that respect, perhaps Kwaku will close by confirming for everybody that he's showing up at the protest.
Definitely, that's a big question I'm going to ask him. Daryl, I want to hear your closing words and a demand to government. You need to tell them what exactly you want to see in the new approach that you think they must develop.
Yes, I believe that what the government needs to know is that we are not going to measure them by the failures of the previous administration. There's no way we are going to use the works of the previous administration as the benchmark for which we would going to measure our expectations. So we expect more of this government because when we started, we had a crisis. The crisis is still here, and that's the measure by which we are going to hold them accountable to. So I believe that the government needs to do more, and that is why we are going to join Democracy Up Sunday and Monday to make sure that the government keeps prioritizing the issues of Galamsey at all times.
I will ask let me hear from you also on your closing.
I concur with what my brother Daryl has said. We face an existential threat. And then we also know that the agency, the house is burning. We really need to put out the fire. And it doesn't look like we think it's urgent enough if the president says that we're not yet there. We don't want to wait for 100% of our water bodies to be poisoned before we decide to act. And let me be very clear that Ghanaians did not vote for musical chairs. We've been told about so many party chairmen and so on and so forth who are involved. I even have a report that one NDC Executive Chairman Gariba is still leading Galamsey activities in forests in the Fomena Adansi Asokwa area. Lots of reports have been made, and only 2 people we are told being investigated. But what about the others? We don't want it to be the same as in the case of the NPP, where Professor Frimpong Boateng's report was just gathering dust. If we are serious about this matter, we need to hold to account all politically exposed persons who are allegedly involved in illegal mining, because we did not vote for musical chairs. There's an urgency, and we need to show that we understand the urgency of the matter, and we're going to deal with it before every single Ghanaian is poisoned.
In showing that you see the urgency, Shandoff, like Oliver asks, are you showing up for the protest? Because I think last year or 2 you were there and you were posting a lot about that on your social media, demanding that people join. Are you joining this protest at least to signal that we all agree collectively that something more ought to be done?
The reason I am unable to join the protest tomorrow is that as I speak to you, the Sector Minister, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, is not in the capital himself. All of us are with him outside of the capital. We are touring mining communities, launching the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, and also engaging the community folks on responsible
community mining, Galamsey.
I think you should allow me finish. You should allow me finish.
Because our time is running, I just wanted you to respond briefly to the point people have made that all of these outcomes there, community mining schemes, these are all things that are worsening the illegal mining problem.
Unable to join because, like I'm saying, we are working practically on the grounds. But of course, we appreciate democracy, and so the protesters have our blessings. In as much as, like I earlier indicated, normally protests are to register displeasure over a failed government. This government is not failing on the fight against illegal mining. But regardless, the concerns and sentiments can be expressed. But in conclusion and in 30 seconds, government is working assiduously around the clock to deal decisively with the issue. The Sector Minister, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, has that volume of political will. The President of the Republic equally is a manifestation of that same momentum. And so very soon, our forests to become green, our waters to become blue again. It's just a matter of time.
Thank you very much, Shandoff. Thank you very much, Oliver Back of Vomawa. Thank you very much, Aula Sewa. And thank you very much, Daryl Bosu. Shandoff, a couple of messages coming in for you. This one says, please tell Shandoff that MPP is not the standard for us. Not everything comes down to how marginally better the government is doing over the previous one. A lot more messages coming in. And that's how we wrap up on the conversation tonight. Tomorrow on Newsfire, you don't have to miss, because there are big conversation happening on Galamsey itself. Galamsey, citizen activism for state of emergency. The Imani report in Kitia aware of dissipating goodwill, and then Justice Tokono, let me do my judge duties. You don't have to miss that with Samson, Ladi, and Yenini, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on the Joy News channel. That is the best way to spend your Saturday morning with the Newsfile crew. And my name is Kwaku Asante. I'll see you same time next week, Friday. Andy Dusty is up next with The Library.